Hey guys, Wizard Stove here, and I'm going to be talking about Loki episode 4 and my thoughts, so if you haven't seen the episode, go away now. Okay, they're gone? Okay, let's get into this episode because this one was a lot. I thought episode 3 was a lot. No, they came out here and said, I'm going to put you in physical pain. So I'm going to start off, we're just going to slowly get into the emotions this episode has caused me. So the first moment that I felt pain was for Hunter B15 and her learning that she is a variant. That was like the one scene that actually legitimately made me cry. And God, I really hope we get to learn her name and she's gonna be set free and everything's gonna be okay. Like, we got some good content for her this week. And I'm so happy because I've been wanting to have some good content with her because she deserves it, first of all. But her coming in at the end to help out Loki and Sylvie, like, ugh, yes, she was the hero of this episode, and I'm so glad that they did this. So the next couple of episodes, they also better have her be out here being a badass, like, let's go, yes, queen, love you. And then we go on to some good Loki angst. When Tom described this episode, and he was just like, you know, poor Loki, he was not joking. He was not joking. Just like the whole thing when he was in that time loop with Sif, by the way, which amazing. So glad that she was there. That was a treat. I love that. Him believing that he deserves to be alone was so painful. And then Mobius being like, "Do you really believe that you deserve to be alone?" That was so much. I was not prepared for that. Stop putting my man through emotional pain. He's been through so much. But oh my god. But like when Mobius was asking that and he was like, you know, you can be whoever you want to be. You can even be someone good. And Loki just had that smile on his face. Ugh, they're so good. I love them so much. I'm glad that they were able to kind of like start to trust each other again towards the end, which was great. But it lasted for a good, you know, 5 minutes before Mobius was pruned. And have you ever like been in like a state where like you're watching something and something happens that is so intense that you should be crying at the scene you're watching, but you're in so much shock that you just sit there and you can't cry? Because this happened to me in Infinity War. Like that happened to me with Mobius. Like, I couldn't cry because I was literally in so much shock about what had happened. Because it's like a denial thing, and also just like, did they actually literally just kill him off? Which I don't, he's fine. You know, the end credits prove that he's fine. We see him in trailers for other episodes, so like, he's fine. He's not dead, which is great. But I did not appreciate that scene because the look on Loki's face was absolutely devastating. Like, him and Mobius started trusting each other again. We're about to go off, do their own thing. You know, it's like, yes, let's go take down the TVA, they suck. And then boom, he's gone. Like, okay, sure. Speaking of the TVA, we all been knew they ain't shit, and we all been knew that they weren't real. And for some reason, I was still shocked when they revealed them to be robots. Which robots is a choice. I'm not sure what was going on with that. Like I'm not like mad about it. I'm just confused about why and how they are robots, and it really is like, who is behind all of this, right? I've been seeing people say that. I've been seeing people say like, what if Miss Minutes made the TVA? And I think that would be so funny. Like, she's a lot more than what we have seen. Like, she's just like this crazy powerful being, and just that would be really funny. Honestly, I would kind of love that for her. But like, the second I saw the timekeepers and I saw like the CGI, someone had said this and I completely agree, but I was like, yeah, nah, I knew those timekeepers weren't real when I saw how bad that CGI was. Which that's me. I was like, nah, they don't look right because they look so unnatural. So I'm glad that they ended up not being real because the CGI was not it. But it worked in the scene because they're robots, so it's whatever. So going on to that end credit scene, which was super big and that was like some really big information, because we see Loki get pruned, and then he wakes up in this, like, it looked like a very apocalyptic type of world, and then we see these Loki variants, and I literally got so happy when I saw them. like I'm not like a comic reader, but like I have seen like all like lots of the different types of Lokis. When I saw Kid Loki though, I was like, oh my god, they really are setting up Young Avengers, and I'm so excited. I hope like Young Avengers happens like in phase 5. So like phase 4, like they're gonna hint at it more, than phase 5 maybe we get them, but who knows. I'm just excited that they're hinting at it and that Kid Loki will be a part of Young Avengers, because I think that would be so cool. And he looks like such a funky lad. The alligator Loki, I believe it's an alligator, based off of the snout. He's the only reason I am not currently losing my mind to complete insanity and just having a full-on mental breakdown after this episode, because I love him so much. And I don't know about the comics, so I don't know if that's like a thing from that. And like, you know, but I don't care. I love him. I want a little Loki alligator plush now because he's so cute. Marvel, please give me marketable plushie. I will give you my money for it, please. But honestly, the 3 Lokis looked really cool, and they look so fun, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Loki just to be with other Lokis, them causing problems, take over the TVA maybe, you know. I think it'll be really fun, and I think it's actually going to be really good for Loki to be with some others of himself, because this episode very much sparked a lot of conversation about Loki and self-love, which I wanted to save this for the end of the video because I'm going to go off about this a little bit. So I saved this for the end because I am in pain. So the whole Loki and Sylvie situation, I have been in fear that Marvel was going to try and make them a thing, and it was heavily hinted at, and it felt like Loki was going to confess to her before he got pruned. But I want to have like hopes that this isn't actually gonna happen, because we have Mobius, who was going off, and like he was like really like pushing the idea of like, oh, like you like this variant of yourself, and he even was like, that's like kind of weird and narcissistic, which, you know, like Loki even said, you know, like was talking about like how he's a narcissist, whatever. So like I will say this first, I understand the argument of it kind of is in Loki's nature, and it makes sense for him to fall for a version of himself. I do understand where people come from that point, but it does not mean that I don't like it. And I don't really think anyone asked for this either, because the fandom right now already is up in flames about this and is so scared that this is like gonna actually be like a canon romance. And I am also scared, but I also want to have hope that the writers are not gonna do it, because I feel like with Mobius saying that it's weird is kind of like a self-aware thing. Like the writers know it's weird, especially because they were pushing it so much when Mobius was talking. Like it was said so much to the point where I was like, I don't think that they're actually gonna do it, because when a narrative in a story is pushed so much and they're trying to make it like obvious it's gonna happen, I say in quotes, it usually doesn't happen, because having the obvious happen is not, you know, the best thing to do. So I would like to have some hope that maybe that's kind of what's going on. Like, and here's the thing, Loki, I can see this is the kind of person to mistake like platonic attraction with romantic attraction. He even said, like, you know, like he has kind of been alone all of his life. He doesn't feel like he deserves anyone. He's never had these types of feelings towards people. So I could see this being like he's confused about what his attraction is to Sylvie. And maybe he was about to maybe confess to her, and maybe him being with these Lokis will help him realize like, oh, like I don't feel romantically towards her, but I care about her. She's someone who understands me. Like a Loki is really the only person who can understand me, and that's why I care about her so much. Which I could see that happening. And there's also like maybe he wasn't gonna confess to Sylvie. Maybe he was gonna talk about like we are like the Nexus event. Like he was having the whole conversation with Mobius and stuff. Maybe he was gonna talk about that. I'm not sure. Like I can see that happening. There's a couple of directions they can take to make it not a Loki and Sylvie end game romance. And like I don't want this like whole thing to like kind of ruin the episode, but like self-cessed like themes have always made me a little uncomfortable. This is the type of vibes that it's giving me if they do make because like they're both Lokis, And I know that Sylvie, is trying to like branch away from being a Loki. She doesn't like to be called Loki, but she acknowledges the fact that she is a Loki. So it would be kind of weird. And a lot of people in the fandom are saying it would be weird. So I hope the writers kind of foreshadow that a lot of people aren't actually going to want this, and it's going to be fine. I have no idea. I've said this so many times, but I don't trust Marvel that much. I don't trust big companies with things like this. I also should have stated that this isn't really me being like, oh, like I want Lokius to become canon. Loki and Sylvie can't be a thing. Boy, I do not even think that Lokius is gonna be a thing. Like they wouldn't dare to do it. So I'm not expecting them to be canon. I really don't care. This is more of a sense of I really don't want them to do like a self-cess kind of thing because it just makes me feel really icky. And also, if Loki wants to learn self-love, does he really need to be in a romantic relationship to love himself and feel validated and feel cared for? Because I don't really like the idea of like the only way that like someone like a character can feel like they're cared for by others is by being in a like a romantic relationship, which it's not necessary. So it's kind of like that's also like one other reason why I don't want it to happen. So this is also me kind of saying like maybe like actually don't make Loki's canon, because Loki does not need to be in a romantic relationship to feel cared for. And I think it would be great if they went that kind of direction, because as someone who's kind of exploring maybe being Arrow, like let's not maybe push a romantic relationship because it's not always needed. Of course, I am still going to ship Loki's on the side because of course I am. I'm in fandom. I'm in shipping fandom. That's just how it is. But in the sense of the show, it would be an interesting thing to explore. Not like really just making him Arrow, but not relying on being in a relationship to feel happy. He needs to learn to love himself before he can really be in a relationship anyway. And like maybe falling for himself is like a form of self-love, I guess, but it's still weird. It's still I still am not gonna like it if it happens, because it's kind of weird and kind of whack. But I don't know, we're gonna see what happens. I'm just gonna hope that everything ends up being okay. Marvel always just gives me so much pain. I'm just like, the second we have a good show, they do this. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about this. I could go on for so long about my thoughts about the whole Loki and Sylvie situation. That's kind of the basis of my thoughts, so we're gonna stop before it gets too long. Here's to waking up at 3 in the morning yet again for Loki. I hope the next episode delivers. I'm excited to see the other Lokis. That's what I'm here for. I don't care about nothing else. I only care about other Lokis, that Loki is okay, and that Mobius is okay, and that Sylvie is okay. And Hunter, B15. Basically, I just kind of hope that everyone's okay. I'm so tired. I'm gonna stop. Thank you guys for sitting through my rambles if you have gotten this far. Let me know what your thoughts are about this episode and just the whole situation that is happening. And I hope to see you guys next week when I talk about episode 5.